Hi folks, Christoph the Polish Geek welcomes you to another video in the You Should Be Watching series, and this time I decided to review my favorite movie by Don Bluth. Yes, Don Bluth is a really fantastic animator, and that movie is Anastasia. Lots of people pick for their favorite Don Bluth movie The Secret of NIMH, An American Tale, The Land Before Time, and all really great movies, and I really love all of them, and I think that each of them would really be a great choice for a favorite Don Bluth movie, but my personal favorite is decidedly Anastasia, and I even own a DVD copy because of it. Like, for me, it's basically a must-own for DVD. And why do I love it? Well, in some ways, it actually feels very personal to me, but in general, I'm very fascinated by history and Russian culture. I think Russian culture is beautiful. I mean, say whatever you want about politics, we're not getting into this, but I think the culture is really beautiful. And again, as I said, in some ways this movie also feels very personal to me, and that's why Anastasia is easily my favorite Don Bluth movie, and I'm all gonna tell you why. And why I think you also should watch it if you haven't seen it already. Don Bluth is a really fantastic animator. He used to work for Disney before embarking to start his own independent animated movies, which were much darker from Disney classics and tackled plenty of really mature themes. There were some trashy movies that he has made actually, like Troll in the Central Park, which he himself actually despises, but he also made plenty of amazing animations such as An American Tale or The Land Before Time. But my favorite of Don Bluth's movies is by far though Anastasia, as I already just said. I truly love the story of the movie and the atmosphere, the characters, the songs, and how authentically it manages to make the movie feel distinctively Russian despite being American production. And it's just a really amazing animated movie with a really compelling story and a really good animation. Plus, I already said it before probably on this channel a couple of times, but I've been to Russia before. When I lived in the United States for 8 years, my parents actually lived in Russia due to my father's job. They live in Dubai now, but it's a different story, and I visited them a couple of times. Beautiful country and really nice people with really rich history. Again, we aren't getting into politics on this channel. The story of the movie is amazing. If anyone knows real history, Anastasia Romanova was the youngest daughter of Tsar Nicholas II, an emperor of Russia. Tsar is a Russian title for the emperor. Communists murdered Tsar and all his children, and yes, sad thing is, real Anastasia unfortunately didn't survive. At least not officially, because again, these days it's just hard to trust anyone, honestly, but that's neither here nor there. Due to the legend that Anastasia supposedly did survive, there are plenty of very false reports of her survival, and plenty of stories were made on the subject as well. We all know of real-life Anna Anderson, who claimed to be Anastasia even if she wasn't. I think Don Bluth's Anastasia tackles the subject of Anastasia's survival amazingly well, and it doesn't even try to be historically accurate or anything. The movie doesn't hide with the fact that it's supposed to be pure fiction. It's clear from the get-go that this is meant to be a fictional fantasy story. It's not even a what-if scenario, just a fictional fantasy story that's using the hypothetical scenario as a basis to tell its story. And it doesn't hide with that, and it amazingly works to its advantage. And again, it does it so well. I just love how the movie combines some real history with huge fairy tale feel, and despite being American production, again, as I just said, it just manages to make the atmosphere and everything feel so distinctively Russian. And the movie is actually beloved in Russia, and I'm not surprised at all. Still, onto the story of the movie. Anastasia survived the attack on her family, but she's amnesiac and ends up in an orphanage without remembering anything, but as seen, she's very much well liked by all the other kids when she's leaving the orphanage because she's 18 years old, and you can see all the kids are waving goodbye at her, and it's pretty clear how much they liked her. Her current name now is Anya, which is also very personal to me because newsflash, that's the name of my 7-year-old niece. And I have very special fondness for this name now. with Anastasia being 18, she abandons the orphanage and decides to look for her family, and she embarks on a journey to Paris, where her grandmother left a "Together in Paris" note for her. Which is also interesting because my sister and my niece actually live in Paris, and then Anastasia meets a young man named Dimitri who initially wants money and decides to bring Anya as real Anastasia with neither knowing actually that Anya is real Anastasia all along. An interesting thing is Dimitri is actually a young kitchen boy who rescued Anastasia back in childhood, but he doesn't recognize her.
My music box!
Go! Go! Comrade, in here!
The characters are also really likable. Anastasia, or Anya as she's known mostly throughout the movie, is a very amazing and well-written character, and I say that she's probably better than most Disney princesses. Well, maybe Ariel or Rapunzel are also pretty amazing and likable, but if Anastasia was an actual Disney princess, then she would very much be a contender for the best one. Again, together with Ariel and Rapunzel, and Dimitri is also great and gets a very good and well-written character development, and the chemistry between Dimitri and Anya is also pretty good and very well done. And I love how it very much takes its time and how it's combined with character development. Again, Dimitri is a con man at first, whose motivations are actually pretty selfish, but over time he becomes a much better man, and his relationship with Anastasia feels very organic and natural. And I also really like Dimitri's best friend Vlad, who, like Dimitri, also very much wants to pass Anya as the real Anastasia without knowing who she is, and I think he's also pretty hilarious actually. But although he's very much a really funny character, probably the most funny one in the whole movie actually, but thankfully the movie very much balances out with still giving him a very much an emotional depth. And together, Dimitri and Vlad form a really amazing friendly duo. Let's also give a shout out to a cute dog, Puka, and yes, I'm a huge dog person. The main villain, Rasputin, is just excellent, and Christopher Lloyd does such a great job voicing him, and also his physical design is also really great and kinda creepy too, with how sometimes some body parts kind of fall off him, and I love how he manages to balance being humorous while still very much being first and foremost a creepy, evil villain that is cruelly evil and dangerous and by all means has to be stopped, and you do kinda worry about the characters anytime he's plotting with his evil plans. One of the best Disney villains who isn't actually a Disney villain. Plus, he sings the best song in the entire movie, but we'll get to that later. Real-life Rasputin was actually a very complex and mysterious historical figure, and again, the movie does a splendid job of combining fact with fantasy. I've seen some people saying that Rasputin wasn't really needed in the movie, that the story of Anya looking for her family is already really interesting enough on its own that Rasputin wasn't really needed. And yes, he does disappear halfway through the movie and doesn't return until the climax, but I don't really care. I think he's a really amazing villain and he's a really fantastic addition to the movie. Would the story be interesting if he was in it? Yes, totally, but I don't care. I still think he's a really welcome and amazing addition. Then there is also the animation. It's hand-drawn but on 3D sets, and I think it looks splendid and it adds the feel and aesthetic. The layouts fully embrace the richness and beauty of the Russian culture, and as I already said in the beginning, Bluth in the past was a Disney animator, and Anastasia does kinda feel Disney, but it also very much feels Don Bluth totally. Like, if you watch this movie with other Don Bluth movies, then I think that Anastasia totally feels at home with other Don Bluth movies. Like, I disagree that this feels more Disney. No, it just has a princess that kinda looks like a Disney princess and lots of pretty great musical numbers, but in my opinion, this is very recognizably a Don Bluth movie. So again, the animation is just beautiful and gorgeous, and some backgrounds, especially once the characters get to Paris, look straight up out of the Van Gogh painting. The songs and musical numbers in this movie are fantastic, with my favorite being Rasputin's "In the Dark of the Night."
Farewell! In the dark of the night, terror will strike. Terror's the least I can do!
That song just kicks ass. It's so creepy and atmospheric, and it also feels so mysterious too. Another really amazing score is Learn to Do It.
That look. Imagine how it was. Your long forgotten past. We've lots and lots to teach you, and the time is going fast.
Still, I think that musical numbers in this movie in general are excellent and very comparable to some of the musical numbers of Disney movies at the time, which says a lot because that was actually a time of Disney Renaissance and Disney had some really amazing songs at this time. I won't necessarily go as far as to say that musical numbers are better than in all Disney movies, because Disney also had some pretty amazing scores of its own, but I say they are very much comparable and a lot of feel like they belong in the Broadway musical.
She'll be mine!
And also, another reason why I love this movie is that in many ways, it actually feels personal to me, and granted, it feels very personal to me. I don't think most people will really have any sentiment around those reasons I'm about to talk about, but I just gotta talk about it anyway. And first, I already said that I love how throughout most of the movie, Anastasia is referred to as Anya, which is, again, the name of my niece, and that's also why I mostly refer to her as Anya here, and then again, the movie does also. And I also already said, my parents used to live in Russia temporarily, and I visited them a few times while I lived in the United States at the time. And later, Anya and Dimitri traveled through Poland to get to Paris, and we already know that's my motherland, and France makes it even more personal, because again, my sister and aforementioned niece, as well as nephew, live in Paris, so it all feels very, very personal to me and very sentimental. I love Don Bluth's Anastasia. I in general think Don Bluth is a really fabulous and passionate animator, although he hasn't been making movies for a very, very long time, but yeah, I think Don Bluth was a really fantastic and excellent, passionate animator. And again, he's often viewed as best works like The Secret of NIMH or Land Before Time. Again, those are really great movies, and if anyone said that's your favorite Don Bluth movie, I would very much say good choice, but again, my personal favorite will always be Anastasia, and it's not ever changing. And also, fun fact, this movie actually won a Best Family Film Award at Critics' Choice in 1998. Yes, back in the day where movies were judged by their actual quality rather than if they had any agenda in them. But whatever, again, I really love Don Bluth's Anastasia. Fantastic animation, great and compelling story with really well written and likable characters, and I just love, and it also, again, as I've been saying constantly, it feels personal to me in some moments. Again, my favorite movie of Don Bluth will always and firmly remain Anastasia. And I don't like constantly people saying that this feels more like Disney than Don Bluth. No, this is decidedly and recognizably a Don Bluth movie. Yes, it certainly does have some classic elements you'd expect in a classic Disney animated feature, but for me at least this is very much recognizably a Don Bluth movie through and through. So folks, that concludes another video in the You Should Be Watching series, and press the like button, please subscribe to this channel, and I'll talk to you soon in another video. Talk to you then, bye.